if you're lactose intolerant, you can't watch this movie because it's got so much cheese.
Sorry, yeah, I gotta go. You guys can do this on your own now.
Nope, end it there. You agree 100%. I'm right.
Welcome, everyone, to episode 4 of Flix Fellas. I'm your host, James Carroll, and tonight I have with me Kevin and Joey. Say hi.
Hello.
Cheers.
Cheers. Cheers to the governor. Sláinte. Okay, so tonight we're going to be looking at a Netflix original called The Old Guard. It's a movie directed by Gina Prince Bythewood.
I love how every movie we've picked, the director's name is impossible to say.
Yeah.
Especially James's movies. Especially when James introduces the cast, and I can't wait for him to say the one guy's name.
It's so
Doctor
funny.
Strange. Yeah.
Oh, I'm not gonna. I'm not. Yes. So directed by Gina Prince Bythewood and written by Greg Rucka. It is a action and superhero movie. That's a Wikipedia calling it a superhero movie. I don't know if I necessarily agree. Starring Charlize Theron, Kiki Lane, Marwan Kenzari, and a bunch of other very relatively famous stars. And it follows a team of special operatives who spend an unknown number of years mastering the art of combat and surviving the most deadly encounters. This movie is full of intense shootouts and with no shortage of casualties on either side of confrontations. For first reactions, I think we send this one over to Joe. Joe, what'd you think of the movie?
Well, I love that intro because you didn't spoil anything, and I'm kind of mad at myself for even just reading the logline before I watched the movie because I felt like that spoiled a big moment, and I don't know, I have a lot to say about this movie, so I'm excited to talk about it. I don't want to spoil anything, so I would just say I went into this movie thinking I was going to hate it. I was a little skeptical throughout, but I am excited to talk about this one.
Awesome. Kev, what you think?
My first reaction is that you skipped Chiwetel Ejiofor's name in the cast list. I saw that.
That's a humble brag if I've ever heard one.
Yeah. Slight flex. I really like this movie a lot. I went into it blind, Joe. I didn't look at anything. I didn't look at a trailer. I had never heard of this movie until James brought it up for the podcast, and I liked it a lot. So I'm excited to go into it a little more, but it was awesome.
Sorry, to chime in real quick before James goes, I started it without watching anything, and then about 2 minutes in, I decided to pause, and I was like, I need some background before I can get really invested in this, and I read that, and I was like, you know what? I fucking should have gone blind.
This is one of those movies that the trailer will spoil a decent, if you go into it blind, you're going to have a lot better time. Going into this movie, right, I had a little bit of background. I knew a few people. I had a really close friend who watched this movie before and was like, oh, this is great. And I'm like, well, I'm starting a movie podcast, so I need recommendations. I also really liked the movie. I thought it was a very fun ride. There was a lot of aspects that I liked, and I didn't think it was too, one thing I think I've talked about in every single podcast we've talked about so far is the tropiness of movies, and I didn't find myself, falling into any one trope for too long. You know what I mean? It felt very genuine, the story was genuine, even though they don't take any huge leaps when it comes to the way that they're kind of bending the universe, you know. We're trying to talk
campy action at its finest.
Yes, agreed. And what we're trying to do here is we're trying to talk about it without talking about it, obviously, because we want you to go into the movie as fresh as you possibly can. So,
and I think when Kev says finest, he genuinely means that. Not
I do.
It's not sarcastic.
No, that was genuine. This is exactly what I want out of 2 hours of just an action movie, and I can just unplug, watch this movie, have a great time, and then don't want to spoil anything, so I won't. Yeah. But it's a great time.
Agreed.
Yeah. All right, sounds good. Okay, I think honestly with this one, guys, unless you really want to hit anything before we roll into the spoiler cast, I feel like we're gonna have. It's hard to talk about the movie without giving anything away. So I think
you're right. Honestly, non-spoiler, before getting into it, this movie is fun. It's got good acting. It's got
Oh,
big
I have
set
to disagree
pieces
for
is
a
fun.
quick, real thing right there.
You didn't like the acting?
I have some questions
Yeah.
about it. We'll talk about it in the.
In the spoiler.
Yeah, I don't want to get into anything too soon
Okay.
right now.
All right.
But
All right. All right. But
we need to make some drama before the show actually
This
really
year.
starts.
I
Yeah.
know. It's
Agreed.
either acting or it's the writing.
Exactly.
It's one of the two. Okay. So before we Before we roll into the spoiler part of the podcast, we want to get a quick word from our sponsors. But make sure before you go to the next part of the podcast, go watch a movie, or if you want to just tune in for spoilers, stick around. All right, and we're back. Okay, so we didn't talk about a lot in this first part of the thing, but we're about to go spoiler heavy. So what did you guys think? Real first reactions of this movie?
Can I jump in on that? So, you said you don't understand how this is a superhero movie. I don't understand how this is not a superhero movie.
What are you talking about? But it's
They
not
literally
like
have superhuman
They're not
powers.
flying
Yeah.
around.
no,
Not
but
flying
it's like
around, but it's one of the biggest superheroes or like superpowers people wish for is that they can't die or that they're immortal or that they could heal themselves. Like this is
Yeah.
the definition of that.
yeah, but like it's. I feel like it's like when you think, especially because superhero movies are just so high in saturation right now. You know what I mean? Like, I would say that this is more of like a supernatural action movie than like a superhero. Like, I wouldn't look at like Charlize Theron or like any of the people here and be like, oh, they're superheroes. You know what I mean?
Yeah, they're
I
not
would-
comic book, fly around, save the world, do press conference type of superheroes.
Kevin looks like he has something to say.
I do have something to say. I agree with Joe. I think this, in and of itself, is a superhero movie, and to your point, James, is a nice departure from the Marvel Cinematic Universe type superhero, the DC type superhero. You're right. Superhero movies are super saturated. I don't get superhero movie fatigue that a lot of people do, but
Neither do
this
I.
is nice. This is a nice departure in that genre into something that is fresh,
Mhm.
I guess, and a little less like blockbuster superhero movie.
Yeah, and with that, like, I feel like other people have tried to do similar things where there's superhuman capabilities, and it's always very like cheesy or cliche or tropey. Like, this had good graphics, good story, good logic behind everything, or for the most part, good logic. Um, so I really enjoyed it. I thought that was a great aspect of it and a great uniqueness to it that did separate itself from like a Marvel movie, but still felt superhero-ish.
I feel like there's like a level of lean that a movie needs to, or like a story needs to do, like leaning into the fancifulness of being a superhero movie. Do you know what I'm saying? Like, if you have a
Mhm.
movie and it's a superhero movie, you either go full lean and like it's like a Marvel movie, right? Like Captain America throwing a shield, or you're trying to go a little less lean, make it a little more like in real world, but they usually fall short and it's like boring. Let's hear your point, Joe. Whereas this one, it finds just that right amount where it's leaning on that supernatural, but you're still like engaged because it's kind of like that sci-fi or like CIA, like spy, like double crossing type shit, like which I love.
Yeah, you're not questioning it in the sense of like, oh, what science experiment were they a part of? What
Yeah.
happened to them? Like this was just pure like you kind of believe it because nobody knows, it just happens, you die and you come back to life and then forever you're immortal.
I like that a lot too because I feel like there's almost too many origin stories out there. You know what I mean? Where it's like, you know, if you try to make something up, you're gonna be like, oh, that's just like a half-baked Captain America. You know what I mean? Or it's like something like that, like where you can just like kind of like say, oh, it's something else. Whereas this one, it really does like it leaves it up to, oh, we don't understand, we've just been around. You know what I mean? Like, because like the immortals are like, oh, she's the oldest and she remembers like when she didn't die, but like she doesn't know why she didn't die. You know?
There's like enough there to keep me interested in like this world, like and this and like what are the rules? Like what are like why like to your point you wonder and that keeps you engaged and it keeps you wanting that next movie, which I'm assuming will come. And
That was a huge part for me, realizing that there's definitely a sequel to this movie.
definitely a sequel, and we'll get to that later because that you don't get that till the end. But to my point is it keeps you engaged in this story and this world that like you'll come back for that sequel. You know,
Yeah.
like I want to know how old Andy is, and I want to know like what's the rules behind who dies. Like how long did that one dude live before he died? You know, like it seems like he got the shit end of the stick. Like he was just immortal for like a little bit, and then he
maybe
died.
like 100 years.
Yeah, maybe a couple hundred years.
Yeah. Dude, I really liked it. Made me wonder who else, right? Because there was like that one girl who like was drowned and put in like the iron coffin and stuff like that. And it makes me wonder. I'm like, I want to see like I want to go back and I can't remember the actor's name. Kevin, could you say it again for me, please?
You know his name. You just can't say it.
Yeah.
True. So I want to go back and like look at his storyboard and see all the immortals. You know what I mean? Like throughout time. Like I feel like that'd be really really cool.
Well, it's pretty much just been them.
Yeah, because they can feel each other and know each other. So I don't think there was many others.
There was at least.
But I
two.
thought about that too. Yeah, they talk about them though. I think that they could spin off and say, "Oh, there was more. We just didn't mention the first one." But I think they know everybody who is an immortal. It's not like there's another clan out there that's doing the same thing somewhere else.
This show, like, strikes me as a show that could be spun off as a TV series. You know what I mean?
Yeah,
I could totally see
definitely.
this. Like, do you remember what Limitless did? Where, like, they had the movie, and then they went and they made the TV show. This is something I could totally see Old Guard being, like, you know what I mean? Like,
yeah, but I don't want them to do that. Like, because that would mean that they would have to sacrifice this idea of, like, there's not many of them, and, like, we already know, like, there's only X amount, and we already know how far back Andy goes to an extent, so, like, for them to do a TV show like that, I feel like they'd have to pull some bullshit where they add more of these people in, and they create like I just want the movie. Like, give me another movie.
Give
and
me
it's
two more
Netflix, so they
movies
can
and
give
let's
me a
call
couple
it a
more
day.
movies.
Yeah.
I'm not saying that I
100%.
want it to be a TV show. I'm just saying that, like, it's one of those things, especially with, like, a Netflix original, I could see it, like, branching into a TV show, you know?
Did either of you watch Sense8, the other Netflix original?
No, I never.
It
watched
had
that.
similar vibes to that, where there's people connected and intertwined, but this was a lot less sci-fi than that.
Yeah.
See,
no.
it only had a $70 million budget, so I bet they just allocate more, depending. It seems like this did well critically, so I would assume they just give us another movie and maybe with a little higher budget for the next one.
Yeah.
But no Dudley Dursley. Rip.
No,
Oh, yes.
That was awesome. That was
the dude
awesome.
from he's also in Queen's Gambit, right?
Yeah. Dude's career is flourishing after Harry Potter.
Yeah. He was a great villain. I really liked the villain. You know what I mean? He wasn't like, I didn't like him by himself. I wouldn't have liked him in a vacuum, but I liked him coupled with guys whose name I can't say.
Copley. We'll call him Copley. That's his name in the
That
movie.
was-
Copley, yeah.
Copley, yes. He was not Copley, but Dudley was such a, what's his name, Merrick in the movie?
Merrick.
Like, he was like a bad guy, like Big Pharma
Yeah.
bad.
He was like, oh,
Me like profit.
I get money. I don't care what people do.
yeah. Give
You're all
me
nice
money.
to me.
Yeah, he literally was just that character of like big bad pharma CEO, and I don't care about ethics and give me money.
Mm-hmm. Can we just talk about there's like a one fight scene? So I feel like this happens all the time, especially when there's any fight in like a doctor's office or whatever, where she what's it called? I forget all the names of the people now. Niall breaks into like the lab where like everybody's being held, and like she's like looking at the door because she just got shot, and the doctor like turns and looks and grabs like a tube and like a syringe full of blue shit, and like she like starts running at Niall, and you're like, bro, she's got a gun. Like, what are you gonna do? Like.
Yeah, you got to try something, but you know it's pointless. I kind of want to just see a movie where like the doctor like sees that and just like runs comedically out of the scene.
Also, did you see how big that vial of blue shit was? It was huge.
Yeah.
That was
Don't
like 2 shots of blue shit.
Don't you know that every like surgical room has like a big vial of blue shit that does like something random? Like they don't know what it does.
It's like Russian roulette, but like with drugs.
Yeah. But what was I gonna say on that point? Oh, I wanted to go back to something James said about the storyboard, like Copley's like whole like the crazy like Charlie what is that? What's he
Andy.
trying to figure out? Remember Charlie's like got the big board of stuff.
Oh, from
Oh,
It's
you're
Always
talking
Sunny.
from
Yeah.
Always Sunny.
Um,
Yeah, it's like the conspiracy theories with like
yeah,
the yarn.
yeah, with all the
Yeah.
strings. So Copley's like string board. I totally expected like there to be some callback to like Andy being Jesus Christ or some shit like that.
That would have been actually really funny because she does say at
'Cause
one
to me,
point,
I was
they
like-
thought I was a god.
All right, yeah, exactly. And to me, I was like, that Jesus was probably an immortal if he existed.
Yeah.
But she also was very anti-God.
Yeah, well, it's because she's been alive.
She
so
says
long.
like God isn't. No, I know, but she says like God isn't real. But I'm glad you are in tune with the supernatural or something
yeah.
like along those lines. So that's where I was like, okay, she's not going to be Jesus because
Oh,
Jesus
I
said
also
he was God.
loved that twist. The like, she's like, oh, I can fly a plane. You need to like. Basically, what happens is fucking Niall is like, oh, we're gonna land this plane right now. And Andy's like, sure, we'll land this plane. And then she's like, no, come let me out. And she says something in Russian, and the pilot like passes or like dies because he shoots the pilot. And I just love like when it's like little twists like that where she actually told the pilot to play dead in Russian.
Hmm
Like,
Whereas
I
like
don't
if
know.
you understand Russian, you're like, what?
Yeah, exactly.
No, 100%. Could you imagine watching this movie and you speak Russian and you're like, what did you
That's
just
not
tell me?
writing.
Yeah.
Why would you say play dead?
Can we talk about the world a little bit? Okay, here's a little nitpick, a little Kevin nitpick.
Nitpickle.
Would Andy, like, would the girls or the guys, if they want it, be able to get earrings? Because she's wearing earrings. I can't imagine that you can poke a hole in your ear and it doesn't force the earring back out, right?
It would because the syringe when they were injecting them in the doctor's office was actively fighting against it, and the doctor said, "I know your wounds are trying to heal right now. Give me a minute," or something like that. And then as soon as she pulls the syringe out, it does heal. So yeah, that's
Did
a good
they
point.
have earrings? Did she have earrings?
Andy had like a bunch of earrings, and I
I
thought
didn't
about
notice
it every
that,
time
but
I saw her with.
That's a great catch. I'll give you that.
Yeah.
That's definitely
Bro,
I
I'm
can't
just saying.
defend
I'm just
that.
saying.
Charlize Theron in this movie was probably the most intimidating human I've seen in a while. Like, it's like every...
She's like so intimidating all the time. Like she's a badass.
Yeah.
She was in Mad Max. You remember Mad Max?
Yeah. No,
Fury
is she
Road?
Furiosa?
Yeah.
Yeah.
Mhm.
Right.
No, she's just
She's-
like... It's like every time it zooms in on her, it's just like... You know like when like that like sound effect of like a sword, it goes... Shing! Like, it's like, I feel like that... You need that every time it zooms in on her face. And you're just like, whoa,
Okay,
whoa.
let's talk about her though for a second because this was the reason why I was most skeptical about the movie in the beginning was that she either was just given shit lines for the first half of this movie or she just really didn't know how to like sell it because it was always like I'm out of the game or this has to be the last time or we can't do this again. It was just very cliche lines that like I don't think anybody could sell, and she's a very talented actress, so I'm not giving her any discredit. I think that's where I was skeptical in the beginning of like, oh, this movie's going to be cheesy, the writing's going to suck, the acting's going to suck, but it definitely turns around and made itself better. But I don't know I don't know if they had like a change in writer halfway through this movie, but something drastically changed.
I feel like I have to like watch it again and just try and pay attention a little bit because I feel like, and my initial instinct thinking back is that the whole movie has those stupid cheesy lines because that's the type of movie it is. Like it's gonna have those corn dog lines. But I feel like the other actors were better at selling those lines than she was.
Exactly.
Not-
That's what
not
made me
a
like
discredit
question
to
it.
her.
Like, is
I
it an
think you're
acting
right.
thing or is it a writing thing?
I think it was just like they're tough lines to deliver in not a cheesy way, and I think she just sold it flat. I feel like Charlize Theron had those lines. I feel like Booker had those lines. I feel like
Mhm.
Nikki, I feel like they all had those lines, and I agree. I thought her specifically, Joe, was the issue with that.
Yeah. I was like, wow,
100%.
everybody else is doing great, and then it's just her. And I was like, maybe they didn't cast this right, but then she does come through at the end and really sells the role.
She does a lot. I think she's like a very good, strong, silent type in this movie. You know what I mean? Like the less lines she delivers, like the better her. Like the more I feel like she kind of drives home who Andy actually is. You know what I mean? Because like she's like this, she's literally like a killing machine. I also did like, not to go off on a tangent, I think that like the gravity of killing someone is like the fact that Niall's like, I'm not comfortable killing anybody. So something I really liked, a gripe that I have immediately. So first thing, the positive, I do like that Niall was like, listen, I'm not cool with just like killing all of these guards. Like, I'm not cool with like this mass murder, essentially. And like 100% she's going to like save people and like these are the bad guys. But like she's not cool with just like she was a soldier, but like she's also like she's not looking to murder people.
Going off of that real quick, Copley, like, he ultimately is a good guy.
Oh yeah.
But he's willing to let hundreds of soldiers die. At what point do you say, maybe we'll gotta figure out a different tactic to get these people? And he's just like, send them in, send them in, send them in, time to go.
Send all of them.
Like,
No. There were times, I feel like there was a time when he was like, listen, we gotta go. You know what I mean? And
yeah, to protect his own ass, not to protect the
yeah,
soldiers.
it's true. Well, it's like, it's one of those things that like I feel like there's only so much you can do, right? Like, you have to grab them, you know what I mean? And, like, the only way to do that is to get the soldiers to do it. But if they know you're coming, the soldiers are going to die, you know? But to move, let me just really quickly, before we jump too far into another place, the gripe that I have with that is, like, she's like, I'm not going to kill anybody. And then, like, she was real cool with killing people once she got to the pharmacy company.
Well, I think that's when she realized, like, oh, these are not military brothers of mine. These are private, for-profit guards who are protecting bad people.
Right.
She didn't have a problem with them being soldiers. She had a problem with just killing it. Like, she didn't say like, oh, like I have a problem with killing people. She was like, oh, I have a problem with killing soldiers. I have a problem with killing people. And then it was like, oh, Andy's gone.
Yeah. I also think though, like, to that, like, speaking on that, she didn't have any stake in the fight before Andy got taken away, right? Like, she had no, like, she
they
didn't
took
really...
Nikki and Joe.
Yeah, but I think...
But she doesn't like Nikki and Joe.
But
Andy's the one who recruited her, though.
Andy's the one who recruited her, and on top of that, it's like, once she saw that board and she realized, okay, like, these people have literally repeatedly saved the world, you know, or done these good things, she's like, okay, they are fighting the good fight, whereas she didn't really know before what that fight was, right? At least that's my argument to you.
That makes sense.
So,
listen,
nana boo boo, stick your head in boo boo.
I stand corrected. I do think that like I didn't think about it in that light, that like there was a turning point there, and she realized that it wasn't like, oh, they're just fighting to survive. Like, Andy's been fighting for the betterment of the world for like as long as she can remember, you know?
Yeah, I think it's one of those things where you kind of just have to accept it because they don't want to spend too much time on her character arc of like why she's now a part of the team. Because as Andy said the whole time, like, you don't have a choice now. Like, this is it. You're immortal. You can go spend time with your family and then suffer in 20 years, or you could just suffer now, get on with it, and do good. Mm-hmm. And I think that was part of what the filmmakers were trying to do, was just be like, okay, we're not going to waste time on justifying her character arc. It's going to happen. Let's just get it over with and accept it.
Do you think...
Go ahead. Okay.
Oh, I was going to say, do you think they get their powers when they're born, or do you think that when they die, they just randomly come back to life and now
I think it's random.
Immortal?
Yeah, I think it has to be random.
But do you think she's always, like, say that Niall fell off a cliff a week before, could she have been, like, was she always destined to be the immortal, or did it just so happen that when she died that time, she became immortal?
What I took away from it was that once Andy lost her powers is kind of when she was born, and vice versa, because not necessarily, because Andy does die after she gets her powers, but I think if they were the type of people to like have a scratch when they're a kid and it just magically heals, their parents would have known about it their whole life. And I think
true. So
there's kind of that history you got to think about.
Yeah, it's
For
not a
sure.
birth event. I think it's a death event. You know what I mean?
Mhm.
It's like it depends on how you die and like what. Like it's you're not chosen at birth. It's you're chosen at death. You
You
know.
just opened my eyes, Jay.
Brain
It's not a birth event; it's a death event. Whoa.
You are the moon to my darkness.
Whoa.
Oh man. Wait.
um,
The
I-
one point. Go ahead. Unless you
hold on. I have
you,
a
you
gripe.
finish your point on this. Go ahead.
No, I have a gripe
Great.
because I liked a lot of this movie, except that one acting piece me and Joe were talking about, and then I had another big gripe that I hope they change in the future. And I don't like this about a lot of movies.
Re-edit the movie.
I don't like stuff.
They
And my
could
name's
fix
Kevin.
it. They could fix it if they want. But maybe they're listening. Maybe someone, I don't know, the production.
All right,
company,
Charlize
maybe-
Theron, listen up.
The music, like the music they chose, or just putting like actual songs in some of these scenes did not work.
I disagree.
You know?
I
No,
don't-
I thought the music
You're wrong.
sucked. No, the music was so awkward and like I felt like I was watching TikToks during it, like when they were
So-
fighting. Like it was very TikTok-y music.
I think this goes back to what you were saying. If they only had a $70 million budget, and they wanted to go for a vibe that they couldn't really achieve with the money they had, and I think in the future they will spend more money on music to get that effect. How like the Umbrella Academy spends a lot of money on good music, and I think they will do that. I think that's what they were trying for, and I don't think it didn't pay off totally, because there was one point I was like, oh, that's like a pretty mainstream song. I wouldn't expect it here.
At the
But
end,
I
they had
kind of
Imagine
liked
Dragons,
it.
right?
Nah, let me change. Let me reword that. Okay, I would have rathered a score, like a composition, like someone, rather than real songs. Like I feel like that would have suited it better. Like it wasn't. I feel like putting real, at least for me, if you're gonna put like real music in a movie, it's got to be, or a TV show or something like that, like Umbrella Academy, like you said. It's got to be more of like a fun, lighthearted kind of tones to it. You know what I'm saying? And then you add that type of music and it kind of helps. But for like a movie like this, like just give me a good score, like original score for the fight scenes that builds that tension. Because sometimes I was kind of bored. I was like, this is kind of weird. Like on the plane when they're fighting, I was like, this is kind of weird. Like, I don't know. I just don't like I don't typically like real songs in a movie, especially a movie like this.
I feel like you just kind of have to accomplish the vibe, right? Like I remember, like the one example that's kind of like jumping into my head, which may even drive your point home a little more than it drives my point home, is the remember in Captain America: Civil War when they're introducing Spider-Man and they put when they zoom in on Brooklyn, they play Left Hand Free. You know what I mean? Like when they're introducing and it's the first time you see Spider-Man. And it's
Yeah.
like a very like kind of hipster, cool song, and like it like shows him like as a kid in his world, and you kind of obviously everyone knows the whatever it's called, a Spider-Man, but you kind of get the vibe before you get in. So it's like as long as you're using it to kind of like set the mood, and then you have the scene carry that same tone, it's okay. Especially because like I feel like you even bite a little more if it's like a song that really is appropriate, or it's like some like popular right now, like. At the end of the movie, I think was it a Imagine Dragons song? I can't remember exactly what it was, but when they were like driving away in the car right before the entire police department in Paris showed up.
Yeah, he falls out a window and they just show up. Not
Yeah.
all the freaking assault rifles being
Yeah.
shot in the building.
Real quick side note: did anyone notice if she grabbed her battle axe?
She had to have. If there's
I
going to
don't
be
know.
another
I didn't
movie,
see.
she
I thought that was
totally-
going to be like a big shot that they like pull from his chest and bring it away, and I didn't see it. So I was like,
No,
maybe
she
she
had
just
it.
left it
No,
as like
she-
a goodbye.
No. She had it. She grabbed it, and then she hits him with it, and then pulls the axe out of his neck. Right?
Like when they dive out the window. I think she actually.
The
I
axe
think
is
she
in his
actually
chest
hits-
as he's falling out the window.
Yeah.
Oh, really?
Yeah,
Mhm.
that's why
Hmm.
I didn't see her grab it from the car, but it's something I feel like she wouldn't leave. But also, if she's dying, that's like okay, maybe that's
Yeah.
her way of saying goodbye.
It's
from
also like the
fighting.
symbol of the immortal, so I feel like you have to kind of grab it. You know.
Mhm.
And also, no shot that they leave something behind for the cops to look at,
Oh,
because
no.
the whole
That's
point
true.
of that, is that now it looks like this dude killed himself.
Yeah, until they go to his apartment and see everything is destroyed.
Yeah.
Peppered
remember-
with bullets.
Can we
Yeah.
talk about how the dude is standing? So this bothered me. when he's standing on the stairs, like they're all like at the corner looking at the door, like the 15 guns guys that are left, and he's like around the corner on the stairs with a battle axe, and you're like a pharma CEO who's like not in good shape. What the fuck are you gonna do with a battle axe? You know?
And what does he do with it?
Nothing.
Nothing.
Yeah, with a battle axe.
Yeah, nice, sick dude.
Yeah,
He's trying to be Harry Potter with his wand.
No, it's a sword of Gryffindor. What's it called? No, but it was like there was definitely a lot. There were definitely some like funny like what are they trying to do here moments. But like I do like the one thing I was trying to mention earlier before we went on a different tangent was I do really like Booker's character, especially because they didn't spend too much time developing it. Right? They gave you just enough, because I feel like you get lost in the side characters, especially if you have like some substantial, like Suicide Squad did this, where the first 45 minutes of the movie is like you explain the backstory of every character, and there's 7 of them. You know what I mean? Each one of them has a 7-minute little intro. You know?
Can I? Or sorry, you finish and then I'll.
Yeah, no. Let me finish the point, and then you can tell me I'm wrong.
Yeah.
So essentially, I liked because Booker, right? Like he is the betrayer, but like before he betrays Andy, they explain how he like watched his son die of cancer, and like his son was like pleading with him, like, listen, tell me how you're living forever, tell me how you come back and how you don't age. And he's like, I can't tell you. And his son's like, well, you don't like his son like throws all these things to just break you down as a person. You know what I mean? Because you're seeing your loved one die in front of you that you can't do anything about, and like, you know, they're hating you as they're dying because you can't help them.
This movie did so much better at making me care about the characters in much less time than Outside the Wire did.
Oh, 1,000%.
And I didn't even care about the characters Outside the Wire. Like, they spent the whole movie trying to get me to care, and I didn't give a fuck. And then you give me 5 minutes of this dude's son dying on a bed, and I'm like, Booker.
Oh, Booker, please. I understand why he shot Andy. I understand.
No, so that's where I'm still a little upset by, is that I do get it in the sense that I think they did just enough to justify it in the sense that he was like, you don't understand what it's like to be like alone. Like he wants to die is ultimately what it is. But they don't do a good enough job to justify that beforehand, that for him to turn themselves into and commit to a life of being in a pharmacy in a locked-in dungeon. Like, that's what they said was the worst thing that could happen to them. When I never understood her name. Is her name Gwen?
Who's Gwen? Andy.
Andy's like non-lover.
What are you talking?
Oh, I missed her name.
The girl who got in who's drowning.
Who got yeeted off the boat.
Yeah. I think her name's Gwen. We're gonna call her Gwen for now.
Yeah, she's Gwen.
Yeah. They were talking about her and they were saying it's the worst thing that could happen to us. Something Quinn.
That's a way cooler name.
Okay. So Quinn, they were saying is the worst thing that could happen to her is that she's stuck in a dungeon. She's trapped for 500 years, eternity, whatever it is. And yet Booker's so quick to say like, oh, I'm going to turn us in and hope that everything turns out okay in the solution that we could potentially die one day. But
I feel like
it just didn't make sense to me.
I think they justified it differently. I mean, like, maybe this is me just projecting on the movie, but I thought that he was justifying it in a similar way that, what's his name? Starts with a C.
Chiwetel Ejiofor.
I'm not going to say that.
Copley.
What? Copley. In the same way that Copley is justifying, like, what he's doing to save his wife is like, oh, what I'm doing is to save my son. I wish they kind of, like, pulled that into it a little bit instead of it being like, I just want to kill myself. You know what I mean?
No, I think that's why he did it. That's why he did it.
I thought he was literally just trying to die.
No, he was justifying
you missed it, James. That one flew right over your head.
He was justifying it to Andy, though, as like, we do want to die someday. Like, if they can figure out why we're staying alive, then they can figure out how to kill us. And he does want to die, but I think at the same time he was doing it for the, like, I don't know. Again, I understand why his logic behind it, but there wasn't any motive beforehand that sold me on why he would do it. It was all kind of explained after the fact and
the motivation
very quickly.
sorry, the motivation definitely makes sense as to why he's like, yes, I want them to figure out how we can do this for more people so that people don't have to die of like stupid diseases.
Mhm.
But I think to your point, Joe, there's just not enough movie for that. Like
Yeah.
I think they just want us to assume like these guys have spent thousands of years together.
Hmm.
You know what I'm saying? So like that
Well,
might have just built up over
Booker
time.
was only
Of,
from the 1800s, so about 200
okay,
years for him.
a couple hundred years of being with these people. Like there's so much history that we just don't see as far as like building it up. So I think they just chose for the sake of time and the sake of like pace to just say this guy wants to heal cancer. You know,
Yeah.
here's his motivation.
Yeah, I also don't fault them for that. I don't fault them for like rushing through certain things because I feel like it's like, especially with like, it was still a 2 hour movie and like they didn't have an insane budget, you know. So like, I think they did a lot.
I just had a realization though that he became immortal in the 1800s,
Mhm.
which, assuming this movie takes place in modern day 2000, whatever year they actually want to call it, he's only been alive for 200 years, and his punishment is that he has to spend 100 years in solitude. That's literally half his life. Like and he's like, yeah, that's okay, that's nothing. And I'm like, that's literally half your life that you've been alive for so far. Obviously, I know he expects to live a lot longer, but I was kind of shocked that I was like, wait a minute. You would think that seems like more dramatic to him, not
I
just
also-
like
We've
10
been
minutes.
alive for 25 years.
Yes.
Yeah, try
average.
spending 25 years alone.
I know.
And fuck
Like
you up.
imagine right now they were like, "Now you gotta spend 25 years."
Well, we
by
just
yourself.
did 1 year. We just did 1 year.
That's true.
Yeah, and that felt long as fuck. I feel
Yeah.
like I'm 30 now.
Exactly.
What's it called? I do think that like I don't understand the whole. I don't think spending 100 years by yourself is going to fix that problem. Like I don't think me sending you off to go like seethe and get mad for like 100 years.
I don't think it was meant to be like a rehabilitation. I think it was just like you already know what you did wrong, and like
Yeah.
we just need you to like agree.
Fuck
Yeah, it's
off
not
for
gonna
100 years.
end well because he's
Yeah.
gonna be mad after 100 years. But yeah, I
It's
don't
gonna
know.
make it worse. It's gonna make it worse, especially now that we have what's her face coming back and she doesn't look too happy.
No.
I don't know what her deal is. I'm excited to see.
Could you imagine, dude?
Sequel of
I
this.
thought about that in like the beginning of the movie, like when they're in the desert and they're in Afghanistan, and she's like walking, she's gonna walk back or something, and I started thinking, I was like, I guess they don't care about dying in the middle of the desert. But I was like, what happens if you just came back to life in the middle of the desert? How much farther could you get before you died again? And then do you just die repeatedly? Like, this is the thought process as I'm watching the movie in the beginning. And then they're talking about that girl getting tossed in the ocean, and I was like, oh yeah, that would suck.
That's worse.
That's
No,
so
I don't think you
worse.
could die in the middle of the desert though.
You could
Yeah.
die in a desert. Yeah.
Yeah, but if you're constantly regenerating, I don't think you ever experience thirst the way normal
You
people
don't
do.
No, you
produce
probably
water.
do.
I would assume that like you
I
basically
think you
like.
produce everything.
What I'm saying is, it's like I feel like you go until you're like, bleh, and then like you die, and then you die, and then your like body like knits itself back together, saturates what it needs to saturate, then it stands back up, and you're like, all right, I got like 25%, and then you like, keep running. You know what I mean?
I
You
feel
get-
like they
I
would
don't know.
definitely die in the desert.
I don't think so.
Yeah.
I think your body they come back from straight up shotguns to the chest within seconds. Like I think their body is able to regenerate thirst cells, whatever the hell that is.
Dr. Joe, thirst cells.
Thirst.
I
Pretty
disagree.
quickly.
I'm pretty sure they still die in the desert. Like they're still human.
Are
I feel
they?
like
They just-
thirst cells is like is a zoomer term that can be invented because like incels are a thing.
No, but to die of thirst would take
Thirst
like
cell-
to
thirst
die of
cells.
thirst and dehydration would take, I'm assuming, days, not just hours.
Yeah.
So
No, it
They're-
takes a day. It takes a day to die of thirst. A human being
one
needs
24 hours.
it needs water every day. I think it's like
But-
3 days max, and then you just.
I
Like,
was gonna
fuck
say
it.
the human. Yeah, there's been people who've gone longer, but I think that they're whatever it's called, their
Regeneration.
regeneration
It's
powers,
3 days without water.
yeah, would
I
be
corrected
able
myself.
to fix that for them fast enough.
No, you're wrong.
I don't know if that's true. I think they'd have a problem. I don't think they would straight up die, Kevin, but I think it would be like one of those things that like you don't come back and you're like, oh, it's like I just had a gallon of water. You know what I mean? Like
Right, right.
you come back
No,
and
you
it's
just
like
don't-
you resaturate a little bit. You're basically like your organs get moist again, and then like you could go for a little longer.
Just like she keeps drowning. Like
Well,
she
I think
doesn't
that's
make
happening
oxygen
too fast.
cells.
No, I think that's just happening too fast. Because you can
Well,
die,
No,
but
but
I
she
think
didn't.
dying of
she,
dehydration is a lot slower than dying of drowning. You can die
Yeah,
of
but she
drowning
didn't-
within seconds.
she like would drown and then basically like because you know what an Iron Maiden is, right? You guys know what
Yeah.
an Iron Maiden is? Like it's like
I'm
this.
just assuming it's an iron coffin.
It's like
Yeah,
an
that's
iron
what I-
coffin that has spikes in it. So it basically.
Yeah, that one. Hers didn't.
She
have
didn't have
spikes.
spikes. Hers
Uh,
just
didn't
had
have spikes.
holes for water to get in.
Oh, okay. So yeah, so she
Yeah.
just drowned and then woke back up and then drowned again and then woke
Yeah.
back up and then drowned.
She would
again.
drown, and then the water would get out of her lungs.
Yeah, like her body would eject the water and then she'd wake back up and drown again. Yeah.
Yeah.
That'd be
Side
fucking
note, did anyone
horrible.
watch Kingsman?
Yes.
Yeah,
love
love
it.
I kind of
Love
felt
those
like
movies.
this is going to be a sequel similar to that.
The sequel for Kingsman was good.
Not
so I
sequel, but
watched
just
that
like
shit.
a series like that.
The sequel to Kingsman was average.
It was good. I didn't say it was amazing. I said
That
it was
movie's
good.
for us another day, but I just had
Yeah.
similar vibes that like it's going to be,
We should do a
when they
watch along
realize-
with the Kingsman series. That'd be great.
yeah. When
so
they-
what? Go ahead, Joe.
No, I was just going to say, when they ended it with a clear, definitive, like, there's going to be a sequel, that's just what gave me those vibes as a go. Kind of feels like that.
Yeah, and I feel like what I like about what kind of can, if I could connect Kingsman in this and actually John Wick, are like kind of 3 movies that do something similar in like where they give you a snippet of this world and like they don't give you all the rules necessarily. Maybe Kingsman a little more so than The Old Guard and John Wick, but they don't give you all the rules, so you're like, ooh, I want to know more about like the world that these people live in and like what are the rules, like how do they live, you know what I'm saying? And that
Mhm.
what makes you want to get more rather than just throwing it all at you like in one movie, like this is the rules and this is the world we live in and this is what you do and this is what you don't do, and they try and cram everything into that first movie, just like set it up for like a few stupid action movies, you know?
Yeah, I feel like
100%.
everyone's so quick to make a TV show these days because they don't want to make movies because they want you invested. Like, I'd rather something like this where I'm going to be invested for a couple years now and
Yeah.
wait and anticipate and
Yeah.
I don't know.
No,
It's
I'm
like-
gonna recommend this movie to people. Like, I feel like I'm definitely excited for I'm excited for a sequel.
Okay.
Yeah.
Well, then-
I feel like I was gonna say something when we were talking about her dying in the water over and over again.
Kevin's like, that's my favorite part.
Yo, that would just fucking suck. That would just fucking suck. That's so shitty. So, none of you would want this power, right? I mean, I wouldn't. I would say no, thank you.
Bro, I'd
if
want
I
that
had the
power.
option.
Hell yeah.
Immortality?
That's a curse, dude.
Hell
That's a
yeah.
curse.
Fuck,
You're-
let's go, bro. I'm gonna do it.
It's not like
No,
you don't
you
feel
don't.
pain, though. You have to feel death
Yeah.
hundreds, if not thousands, of times.
100%.
I don't think I'd want this. I definitely
I
don't
don't
want this. No.
I feel like I'd want this, but like I would not do what they do. I would definitely try to get way more involved in like huge historical events because I know that I have no. I have
Go
like
look
Yeah, but
for
you don't
historical
know. It's not like you
event.
go back
you
in
have no idea.
time. You don't know
no, but
what,
like I would go to I'd go to like the insurrection and I'd be like I'd like pose in like the Sasquatch like pose in a bunch of different places and like I would just do that like all throughout history, like at every inauguration, like there's a picture of me doing that. You know what I mean?
But that's the thing. They're
But-
still human. Like they still have to get access. They don't just have access to all these places.
Yeah, but I'll be like
because-
smart. I'll be like hundreds of years
Oh,
old. I'll be like smart
okay.
as fuck. I'll figure it out.
Kev, I have a question for you. Since you wouldn't want
Okay.
immortality and James would, what would your superpower be?
That's a good question.
We got 10 seconds to
I
answer.
feel like
No
I'm
superpowers.
in an interview right now. Like this is the type
This
of shit
is.
they used
If
to
you
ask in,
answer
like, RA
wrong,
interviews.
you're not on the podcast anymore.
Yeah.
Oh.
It's got stakes. We just changed the format. It's now an interview podcast. Kevin's
Yes.
superpower.
Can I like pick like a superhero's superpowers and just have their
can
superpowers?
pick whatever
or do
you
I
want.
Just get one?
It depends.
Yeah.
If you say Superman, I'm gonna say fuck yourself.
No, Superman's too cheese. I would do like Spider-Man powers. Like those powers are cool as fuck. You just like, psst, and you like swing, and like you're super strong, and
Yeah.
like you heal fast.
I
like,
do
that
have-
sounds good to me.
I have a clarification question. Are we talking like where it comes
Tobey
out of your
Maguire,
wrist,
or
is it like a metal band?
Which
'Cause I'm telling you,
Spider-Man?
Oh, look, Tobey
When it-
Maguire is like our generation Spider-Man, and also I'm too lazy to put something in a wrist
That's-
thing. I just want it to come out of my
that
wrist.
is disgusting. That shit makes me cringe. I hate that. I don't ever, veins freak me out. So like I feel like I don't know. It's just weird.
You
I don't
got
know,
a
it's
lot
weird
of
thing.
them.
It's a weird. You're right. I think it's honestly, and it's also not like other people's veins. It's just my veins. My veins freak me out. That it exists. Whatever. Weird phobia of mine. Now the entire world does. So we're going, like, I just feel like having a little pocket of like mucus or whatever right here that's just like, ha, it's as strong as steel, and now like that is holding all of my weight as I'm like swinging through the air.
Yeah, I agree. It doesn't feel comfortable.
Yeah.
How do you know what it feels like? You've never shot webs out of your
I said it doesn't feel comfortable, Kevin. I meant to say it
What do you
doesn't
mean?
sound comfortable, but I said
That's what I asked. What do you
Kevin-
mean by that?
Kevin.
Anyway,
Kevin
the right
asked-
answer is teleportation. So, Kev, sorry, you're off
Yeah.
the podcast.
Teleportation is not. Oh, that would be pretty
Pretty
dope.
sick.
Like
Literally
in
just go
Jumper,
anywhere you want at any second.
Yeah,
Like,
but
wait,
do you live?
but
Wait.
wait.
Clarification
imagine just being in the Outer Banks right now.
You're right.
No,
wait.
hold
Or
on.
Paris.
Let me do my clarification
Greece.
question. Do you live in a world of superheroes or like the world we live in right now?
No, the world we live in right now. You're a special
Oh,
person.
hell yeah. That'd be fucking sick.
Wait,
Yeah.
but also second clarification: is it like you can just like kind of just like choose where you want to be, even if you've never seen it, or is it Jumper rules where you have to see the location to
No,
do
you
it?
can go
so
wherever
like he
you
has
want.
to look at a picture of like
No.
the Sphinx, and
You
then
can
like,
go
he
wherever you
zaps over
want
it.
and
Samuel L.
just think
Jackson.
about it.
I've never seen Jumper. That's like the dumbest shit I've ever heard in my whole life. You can see a
You've never seen
picture of
Jumper?
something,
Dude,
and,
and
you
his
It logically
apartment
makes
is just
sense, but-
filled with pictures. It's actually awesome.
Yeah, no, it logically makes sense that you have to see the place before you go.
yeah, but I feel like
but-
you need to see it like with your eyes, not like a picture.
I need to clarify Jumper.
Well, I also don't want to
rules.
limit my superpowers. I want my superpowers to
Oh,
be
100%.
maximum, so I just want to be able to go wherever I want, whenever I want,
Can you bring people
within seconds. Sure,
Can
you
we-
can touch
can-
whoever you're touching can come with you.
Okay. Can you daisy chain? Can I bring like 15 people? We're all just like holding hands.
If everyone's
Jumper
touching
can
me.
daisy chain. Yeah.
If I'm like a
Okay.
port key in Harry
That's
Potter, everyone just who's touching me comes with me.
Nice. Nice. But what's it called? Yeah. So getting back to this fucking movie.
Yo, we
Um,
need to watch Jumper though. Jumper's a good ass movie. Now that
I'll watch
I'm
Jumper.
reading
I don't
it.
care.
Not a
I'm-
streaming service original, sorry.
Ooh,
It was
not in the
made
niche,
in 2008.
bro.
Streaming didn't exist.
I was gonna say
Gotta be in the
this
niche.
is when Netflix only had DVDs.
All right.
yeah, exactly.
I think. Do
For
we
you
have
Gen Z people out there, Netflix
the
didn't always have
Zoomers.
originals and didn't always stream.
Mhm. So I think we can honestly talk about this movie for another hour and a half, but I think we are coming to a point where, unless Kevin's got something
We
to
didn't
say.
even talk about the big twist at the end.
All right, Kevin, tell me about that twist.
Like that was an awesome twist when she was in the apartment and she, the girl who was so the one immortal who was drowned
Yes.
over and
Quinn.
over and over again, Quinn. She comes back and she got out of this cage somehow,
Oh,
and she's
shit.
like
Well,
talking to Booker, and she's like,
So,
"Nice to meet
hear
you."
me
And
out.
you're
It's
like,
been-
"Oh fuck, she's not happy."
this is 6 months later, so either the crew got her out somehow, and now she went and found it. I don't know.
No way. No way.
No way.
She's gonna
No
be the
shot.
next villain. She's gonna be the next
Oh, yeah.
villain.
You-
Yeah.
Oh yeah,
100%.
definitely a villain set up.
She's trying to recruit Brooker to be a villain.
100%.
Yeah, I thought it was my first thought, but I don't know. The fact that it was like 6 months later, not just like 200 years later.
That's true.
I guess not 200, maybe like 50 years later, because he was only exiled for
I do.
100. But
Yeah, I do feel like months is like quite literally minutes to them. You know.
yeah. So I'm like, they just
100%.
spent this whole movie and they didn't know where she was, and they spent hundreds of years looking for her, couldn't find her, and now within 6 months, she's found and alive and out of the ocean. I don't know if she's necessarily. I think she probably will be the villain, but not necessarily guaranteed. She did look pissed though, so
Yeah. Dude, that'd fuck you up for your entire life. You were
Yeah.
drowning for 50 years. It'd fuck you
Yeah.
up forever. Like, I'd never ever
Her-
go to the beach ever again.
or look at a boat. You see a boat.
You're just like, oh.
Like, but no, dude, 100%. How is her brain not just like melted? Like, how is her like? You know what I'm saying? Like
Like her
brain-
psyche, not necessarily like a physical
Yes.
thing that can be repaired.
You have to be, like James said, so fucked up when you get out of that.
Hmm.
Well, because you're
Hundreds of years, right?
Yeah.
Hundreds.
no,
Of
no,
years.
no, no, because it wasn't it the
500
Salem
years.
witch trials that she got sent down? When was that?
It wasn't Salem witch trials. It
No,
was,
the Salem witch trials were in the 1600s, like 1668.
I think it was like the Middle Ages witch trials.
Okay. Well, yeah,
Europe.
then hundreds of years. For hundreds of years, she's been underwater. Like,
Yeah, no, they said 500. Because when
Oh,
when
okay.
Niall wakes up from the dream, and she says she felt crazy, they said, well, how would you feel 500 years drowning for 500 years?
that's true. Dude, that's
You
so
know,
crazy. I didn't
how-
even think about that. That she felt her. Like, I just
Yeah.
thought that was like a one-off, like from like Andy's memories. She felt her still alive.
Oh, I
Holy
figured she was still alive.
Oh, I didn't
because
think she was
felt
still
her.
alive. I thought she was dead.
No. I mean,
No. That's why she felt her then, because
mhm.
when she came back, like they all dream of her, and she dreams of all of them. So she had that dream of.
That's crazy.
Yeah. Well, it's funny because they were also giving her shit for like, why do you feel guilty? No shit, you feel guilty. You're walking around free knowing that she's still drowning.
Yeah, you're not spending all of your time trying to stop her from drowning for
Yeah.
500
That would be my
years.
only mission.
Yeah. What do you do? Like, do you guys like
You drown.
think of a game or something? Like, I don't know.
How many fish do you count?
How long can I last this time?
It's
I
dark
mean,
as fuck down there.
it is. You're also drowning. It's not like you know what I
Do you
mean?
think? Do you think she sunk to a depth where like the pressure, like she's not even
Equalized.
drowning
Well,
anymore? Like
I was
she's
also
just getting
thinking about
crushed?
that because I feel like they wouldn't have gone that far out to sea at that time because it's not like they had scuba divers or like currents that they knew about that they were worried like, oh, maybe she'll drift up. Like
Yeah.
she couldn't have been that deep.
And they were
Yeah.
sailing.
Then my guess
ships.
is like maybe just a random scuba diver found her, or I don't know.
I think that's the route they're gonna take. Is like
She got discovered.
James Cameron's gonna find her while he's looking for the Titanic.
Yeah. Oh, also-
James Cameron, explorer of the sea.
Before we wrap up, I do have one gripe I want to share, and that in that last scene, Booker is clearly drunk with a empty bottle of vodka. Meanwhile, you have Andy on the plane chugging vodka because you can't actually get drunk when your cells just regenerate that fast.
That's
That's
where
true.
I thought that their metabolism is too fat. That's like classic, like healing factor rules is that
Yeah.
you can't get drunk. Like the Flash can't get drunk because of his high metabolism. Like
In
any
Heroes,
characters,
the girl, the
yes.
cheerleader, she couldn't get drunk because her
Yes.
cells just regenerated too fast. And that's the same
Yes.
case here. Is like, oh, you literally have a scene where Andy is chugging a bottle of vodka like it's water and doesn't get drunk.
She's just doing it to flex. Like she's not even like she doesn't even like. The
I think she's
taste of
literally doing it to
vodka.
like sleep because she right away goes to sleep after that. But
Yeah.
it's
That is
not like
just, like,
she
a
gets
huge
drunk. Yeah.
Hey, now you want to see something cool?
When like it's infinitely cooler that you can put a bullet through your head and come back, but she's flexing with chugging a bottle of vodka.
You see, I feel like that's kind of lame though to be like, "Hey, check this out!" Bang, and then you just like hit the ground.
Traumatize everybody. Like,
Yeah, like, holy shit!
Definitely would have been in a frat.
Definitely.
Yeah. I would
Yeah.
use that as a party trick all the time. You know how many chicks I would have?
How many chicks?
None.
you have,
Because you're
Kevin?
still you.
Amazing.
Fuck you, Joey.
All right. So, is there anything else we want to talk about that we feel like we need to talk about before we get to player keep scrolling?
No, I
James.
literally had my two gripes, which were weird music and earrings. Like, I literally wrote that in my notes. It was like, earrings?
Earrings? Question mark. All right. We'll start. We started with Joey on first reaction, so we'll start with Kevin. Are you clicking play, or are you going to keep scrolling?
Yeah, I am hitting play. I'll watch this again. I'm going to recommend this to a lot of people. I thought it was a fun movie. Yeah, I'm hitting play. Joe?
Definitely click and play. Would probably watch again. just to chime in off the gripe of your music taste, because I was like, I don't get it. When she does put in her headphones when she's on the military base, I was expecting like a bomb ass song to play, and it was just like nothing
So,
special.
Yeah, it
So
was not.
I agree with that. But yes, definitely pressing play and probably gonna watch again.
Yeah, agreed. And I'm in the same boat. So that's 3 plays. I'm playing as well. I'm gonna watch this. I watched this one by myself. I didn't watch it with my girlfriend, but I'm gonna watch it with my girlfriend because it was a really good movie, and I think it's a good action movie. Like, it's an action movie done well. So I'm definitely gonna watch this at least one more time, and I'm definitely gonna recommend it to others. So highly recommend from the Flix Fellas. Go watch The Old Guard, and we're looking forward for Old Guard 2: Electric Boogaloo.
Yes.
All
Quinn's
right.
Revenge.
Quinn's Revenge.
yeah, I would not watch that movie if that's the title they picked.
Yeah, you would.
Oh, I would.
Yeah. All right, guys. Well, thanks for tuning in. Please give this video a like, subscribe to the channel if you want to see more, and if you comment down below, let us know, what you want us to see. We do, we can get into any subscription service. So just let us know what you want us to see in the comments.
Nice, James. Smooth.
Yeah. Thanks. I talk
Real
words good.
Real.
Thanks, guys.
Okay. See ya.
Talk to you later.